This is the Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast, and I'm your host, Sam Hopstone. This is my journey to uncover the untold tales from the resumes of fascinating professionals shaping our planet's future.
Certifiable Environmental Professional.
And you're listening to Certifiable Environmental Professional Podcast.
So let's start right at the top. What's your name and what's your current occupation? Like, what do you call yourself when you go to parties? And what's your location? Where do you live these days?
So my name's Joanne Mount. I am a wildlife biologist. I do construction monitoring for a state project. I never tell anyone what I...
That's good, yeah. And in a couple of my interviews, folks will talk about project-specific stuff, but one of my roles is write no names, no dates, no clients, no colleagues. Just keep it general.
Yeah.
So you're a wildlife biologist,
right?
And do you have a specific specialty like herps, avian, small mammal?
Well, I got my master's degree in studying birds, but I spent 10 years studying bird owls up in the Altamont Pass here. Yeah.
Cool. And you're in Calaveras County?
I'm in Calaveras County. I live in Copperopolis, California.
Nice.
Near New Maloney's Lake.
Sierra Foothills. Love it.
Love it. It's the oak grassland area. I have 20 acres. I have a horse ranch.
Are you at like 1,000 feet or 2,000?
I think I'm at like 1,400.
Okay. 1,400. Just below snow.
Yeah. We'll get snow for a day, but it disappears.
Perfect. Just enough to play for a morning.
Right? Take some cool pictures.
Excellent. What do you drink? What do you drink on the job site to keep cool? I've gotten into the past year or two like seltzer waters. We'll keep 2 dozen in the fridge.
Yeah. So I drink either water or soda water with a lemon because it kind of helps cut the dryness. But that's what I drink.
Perfect. Clean.
All
simple.
day, every day.
Yeah, buddy. Do you have like like a basketball player? You have like a gallon jug you bring or what?
I bring water bottles.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Next question. What gets you excited about living in Copperopolis? Here you can.
Oh, Copperopolis? Well, it's a cute little town. It's a old town. It's 2,000 people population-wise, but it has the one of the top 10 golf courses in California. So it's really kind of rural, but not rural. And I like to be able to walk between those two things. And I have a horse ranch, I have a horse rescue, and I do equine therapy and spare time.
Tell us about the chili cook-off.
The chili cook-off is a fundraiser in Copperopolis for the volunteer fire department.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I thought it was like just chili enthusiasts.
No, and there's usually 20 people, and we have a contest. And I've entered it 3 times, and I still haven't won, but I'm not giving up.
Fantastic. I already forgot what the next one is. What was your where'd you go for bachelor's? And I'd like to hear about the master's as well, if it's bio-specific.
So I got both my undergraduate and graduate from Arizona State University.
Okay.
From School of Environmental Resources, mostly funded by the Game and Fish Department of Arizona. And I did my master's thesis on habitat classification for neotropical migrant birds on the Verde River.
Is that specific to burrowing owl, or do you get some?
No, I just happened to fall into a job for burrowing owls, and I was able to study them for 10 years. I would just drive around, count the chicks, watch the chicks, look at the nest, watch what they did for 10 years.
Beautiful. Okay.
Perfect.
Arizona State University, is that in Tucson? Or
Tempe.
Okay.
Right.
There's a T-town. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then when you were in school, I mean, it sounds like you already knew, you were doing wildlife. Did you have, was there a moment or were there any indicators, maybe it was before college, that pushed you in that direction?
Well, I always wanted to be outdoors, and I thought I'd work for the Forest Service or the Game and Fish Department from the very beginning. And then this program came up at Arizona State, and I jumped on it.
Do you know anybody, like I see fish and game wardens and like LEOs when I'm in the forest, but I've never met an individual that's like actively serving. Like it's I'm just really curious about them. Do you know anybody, or do you have any background in
So I worked for the fish department as an intern. And they would send me out to catch poachers. Like I would just be
Observe and report, right?
Normal person, and then I'd go back and report to them, and then they
Nice. Undercover, if you will.
undercover.
That is so cool. That's honestly the dream, right? Just walk around, observe and report, hang out in the forest. Are you allowed to say where that was? Was that in Arizona?
Yeah.
Did you spend your whole childhood in AZ, born and raised?
I wasn't born, but we moved there when I was 2, and I left there when I was 37.
Okay, you got a couple decades in.
Yeah.
And was it all in the Tempe, Tempe region, or did you head north and south?
It was mostly Scottsdale.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was nice. And we lived out in the middle of nowhere, too. It's probably why I live out in the middle of nowhere now. Yeah. I did have one when I was setting up my master's thesis. I went out with the game warden, and we went to where I was going to start my thesis down in the river. And flip-flops and a black garbage bag out of the middle of nowhere.
You mean like a bag suit?
No, like he's regular, but he had a bag full of something. Garbage bag full of something.
Oh, full of goods, consumer goods. Okay.
So we called it in later that day, and the guy that his car was there, he was like wanted for murder.
Interesting.
SWAT team came.
Wait, you mean you called it in and you stayed there?
We didn't stay. I left.
Okay.
But they called in, SWAT team. The SWAT team came and busted everybody and arrested them all.
Okay, I might circle back to that. I've got another question that might overlap with that one. Okay, so you love the outdoors. You're interested in wildlife. You're not scared of touching animals. You got into it. You got into the game in college. Were there any extracurriculars, or was there any like career bounces that while you were in college that you can think of?
Nope.
Is there like a wildlife society? Do they do undergrad? What do you call that? Not junior, but student clubs and stuff like
they
that?
have a student chapter.
Do they do like
wildlife
outings?
Society.
You know, like geology.
Yeah,
do,
we
like,
would do. We do like ranchers would call and say, "Hey, can you come build us a fence?" And we'd have to build them a fence, or
that counts.
Right.
That's
Install some water, make some habitat for some fish in the lakes.
Awesome.
That's what we did.
Nice.
Most of the time.
Major interests, extracurriculars. Did you ever lead any outings, or did you do like solo? Did you like head into the forest with your Jepson and identify any animals, or?
So I worked on a tree counting project for old growth trees because we didn't want the Forest Service to cut them down. And so I would spend 8 hours a day just going through the forest trying to find these different polygons and meet up. Hopefully, and we'd follow ourselves on the map, and hopefully I'd meet up with my partner at least relatively close to each other. Because he'd go one way and I'd go the other.
Were you guys generating the polygons, or were you like ground truthing?
We would generate them and then ground truth to make sure that's what we were doing.
Okay, cool.
We used stereoscope.
Nice.
Yeah. It was fun.
You mean going off of the aerials, and then they would like estimate, and then you go in there and
check to
validate.
make sure. Yeah.
That is so fun. Yeah, counting trees is like whenever I was involved in my undergrad, mapping veg is that's the dream, man. Super chill.
Right? I mapped 360 miles of the Rio Grande River.
Oh, you mean like linear?
Like I canoed down it.
Tell me more.
Did the same thing.
How'd you end up on that one?
We ground truth it, in the lab. We dry labbed it, and then we went out and verified what I saw was really there.
Like veg mapping or soils or everything under the sun? Okay.
Yeah. It was interesting because we were looking for the Siberian elm, which was a exotic species. And when I moved to Albuquerque, I developed these terrible allergies. I could not sleep. And one night I was watching a documentary like at 2 a.m. because I couldn't breathe. And it was about, there was a guy and his wife traveling. They were going to try and get to California. They couldn't make it. So they stopped in Albuquerque because she had tuberculosis. And he became mayor, and he said, "This is barren. We need to plant trees." So he planted like 10,000 Siberian elms. And then they just took over the whole river, the whole population. And that's what I was allergic to.
Oh, man. You jumped right into the middle of it.
Right.
Okay, so you've had a lot of fun outdoors jobs. Was the Rio Grande path? Was that in Texas or like what reach of the river? What reach?
Albuquerque, from Butte Lake up to, I forget what the reservoir was. Santa Fe?
Okay. I mean, I don't know the area, but just curious. New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Got it.
I worked for the Game and Fish Department, but I was in partnership with Bureau of Reclamation.
Oh, because there's some reservoirs and lakes involved. Okay. It wasn't just like river running.
Plus, they own some of the land.
Like upstream. Interesting. Cool. Okay, so how long of a stretch was it?
It was, so the professors wouldn't take anyone under the age of 25.
Interesting.
So you had to be, they wanted mature, students that knew what they wanted to do. So you couldn't be 20, you had to be 25 or older too. So I think it was probably 3-4 years.
Got it. You spent your 3 years in the wild and you came back minimum age trying to catch that master's.
Trying to catch the master's.
Okay, Bachelors of Science, Masters of Science.
Yeah.
So you finished the master's degree. And were you involved in any projects of note before your exodus from Arizona?
Let's see. No, I did most of my work here in California. My first big job was working for Department of Defense at Lawrence Livermore.
Like in Livermore?
Like
in the labs?
No, they have actual 420 acres of wildland, all around them for security.
Yeah, they've got some space in the hills.
So that's what I monitor.
That's the best. That's the best, nicest part of the labs, man. The foothills around it. Sweet.
I was going to my binoculars. People were always calling me, there's someone out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's scoping us out. Was that for specific species of concern, or was it like any?
So they had red-legged frog, they had tiger salamander, they had bobcats, mountain lions. There was a lot more diverse than we thought it was. Until I went out there and found everything.
You have to have a person sit and look to actually notice things, it turns out.
Right? We put trail cameras up.
Cool.
Got pictures of deer and coyotes, baby coyotes.
What about avian species? Yeah, I don't know.
We had barn owls, great horned owls, all the raptors, lots of songbirds because they started planting a lot of trees.
I've seen burrowing owls on the peninsula. Is there any Alameda County, or is that Santa Clara County?
That's Alameda County, but
yeah, it's Southwest County.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did not have any burrowing owls. But surprisingly enough, that Altamont Pass is just a mecca for burrowing owls.
Yeah.
So
wild.
That's where I got my experience.
Cool. Fantastic. Okay, so fast forwarding to the present, can you beyond the current project that we're involved in, can you identify any professional certifications, or even right before you join the project, you can remember previous professional certifications or society memberships? I talked to Jenny about 10A, 1A permits. I'm just trying to learn that whole world.
Yeah.
That's not project specific, right? It's agency.
Right.
You get permission from the agency to conduct this activity. Were you involved in that realm at all, or was it usually project specific, incidental?
Well, I had a scientific collecting permit.
Cool.
But it ended up when I went into consulting, I didn't need it as much, so it got pushed aside. I'm certified for California tiger salamander, red-legged frog, Alameda whip snake.
Cool.
What else?
Any small mammals? I think GV.
No small mammals.
Okay.
Tortoise, desert tortoise, which I have hardly done any work with.
What about avian? When's the last time you've done when you were the specialist?
Yeah.
Avian specialist on the job.
Well, the last birds I did was the burrowing owls.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And any society memberships? Do you go
Wildlife Society. I don't go to those anymore.
Okay. Were you in the game previously? You go on table?
You have to be. Western Pond Turtle Society,
Some of the species, I know Desert Tortoise has their whole, they have their own arena.
Yeah.
They have a scene.
Yeah. So does the Desert Tortoise.
Yeah.
I mean, the Western Pond Turtle.
Okay.
Has the same thing. There's just a few people that give out the certifications.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
What was your involvement with the society back when you did stuff? Did you lead any outings, or were you tabling? Or
I
you
was
just kind of growing?
Secretary of Finance. I
Cool.
was the treasurer.
Okay, pushing the papers, keeping the
Keeping the money straight.
keeping those conferences,
Yeah.
continuing to go, right?
I can't. We didn't do any field trips.
That's cool.
I can remember. That's a long time ago.
That was a mission critical part of the team with those
Right.
poster. Okay, so I asked about certification, society memberships. Do you still? So you're not really active with Wildlife Society. That's not something that you like utilize or participate in. Do you have any advice or lessons to younger professionals? Obviously, get out there and join the society and just try and network and meet people. But beyond that, did you have any? Were there any other societies or agencies that you were involved
The biggest thing that helped me was volunteering.
Cool.
It was hard because you weren't making any money, but you got to learn. They get out there and you got to meet all the people, and people knew you, and they put a name to a face. And so if they wanted a hard worker, they go, hey, you know what? That Joanne, she was out there, netting for CTS in the gross pond water.
Yeah, it's like especially in wildlife biology, having zero experience, there's not much monetary value for a person with zero experience. So you just have to get hours. If you can do it for money, that's great, but you don't have to start working for money like to be successful, right? Just getting hours. That's something that's a little different from the story model and engineering, right? You just, it is entirely experience, merit, and what's the word? References based. You can't just pass a test and now you're like good to go.
Well, you find a job announcement, it says, 1 year, 2 years of experience. Well, you can't get that experience. You can't get hired because you don't have that experience.
Right. Yeah, volunteering during undergrad's kind of like double dipping. That's what I was trying to do. You're getting those hours before you can graduate. By the time you get to the bachelor's, got those logged and ready to work.
Right.
Fantastic. Okay. Let's go even back further in time, before high school. How did you know you wanted to pursue environmental work specifically? I love the outdoors. You love the outdoors, but there's a lot of outdoors jobs. We don't get to do the fun.
Well, when I was a kid, we did a lot of backpacking and hiking, and so I wanted to be able to do that. But I was really interested when I was really young. Ranger Rick magazines. They had all the little animals in there. I would look at those every day, looking at all the different animals. So I knew I wanted it. Just meshed.
It sounds like you've been on a mission. You knew your track from a young age. Yeah.
And I've never changed my career. I've been a biologist for 30 years.
That's awesome. I feel like I've spent 10 years bouncing around. I'm always daydreaming. If I'm not working outside, I'm always daydreaming about working outside. But whatever it is I do. But you made it, and you followed the course and had some fun along the way.
A lot of fun. I did a fish tracking project in the Grand Canyon.
Like
in your craft for 21 days down, and
you go up to the ford right at the top of the canyon, right, and ride it down
all
to the bottom.
Down.
Crazy.
For 21 days at a time.
Was that a summer or winter?
Both.
Okay.
But that was before cell phones and all, and so. You down there a mile in the ground, you don't know what's happening up above. The whole world could have ended and you would never know.
The pressure cooker.
Until you got out and it was like, where is everybody? And they'd have a Park Service plane fly over us once a week, and we'd wave and it tipped its wings to say that we're okay, that they saw us.
That was a hello.
That was the hello. And that's how we kept in contact with life.
A lot of these are already covered. How'd you know you wanted to pursue environmental work? How'd you end up doing environmental work? You've been there since K-12, baby. Okay, next question is, what's the craziest day of field work you can remember? It's going to be happy crazy, scary crazy, anywhere in between. I can give you an example, too.
When it was Grand Canyon, floating down the river, we had to catch fish, take water temperatures every 4 hours. And I got the midnight shift. So I'd have to go out in the dark by myself and take all these samples and we'd have a boat and we'd be seining for fish. And the only reason we knew we weren't going to hit the rapids was because there was a guide wire across. And so we guide wire, and once with the guide wire, we had to turn around in the rapids.
Did you ever just grab that cable and keep going just to see, just to feel the wind under your sails?
No. That was, I think, the most adventurous we did.
Yeah, Colorado River is even when it looks calm on top, it's like
it's merciless.
Yeah,
it will
it's
eat
crazy.
you up. Yeah, that was the funnest.
Sounds like summer camp. Yeah, that's the dream, man.
And we catch huge, blue ribbon trout. Enormous trout. We'd have to dissect them.
Was there like a camp specific? Was there like a seasonal recipe that you guys had after?
All the fish we caught went to the Boy Scouts there in Page, and they had a fish fry to raise money for their club.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's wholesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question is I wanted to ask about your name. Somebody mentioned Joanne Mount Whitney, and if you care to share the story, I think it's.
I was engaged to someone, and his last name was Whitney, and I thought, man, I'm for sure keeping my maiden name, so it'd be Joanne Mount Whitney.
Classic. That would be it. That'd be the author. What do you call that? Like a pen name,
right?
For your scientific journal entries.
It's my story.
Nice.
It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.